Good morning, friends. Ash here, WAT News, with some news and election updates. It's February the 5th, 2021, and I pulled a bunch of articles. I'm starting off with Hunter Biden writing his memoir based on drug abuse, gets a cool $2 million advance. So you could see that the powers that be are doing this again, what they did with Obama, right? You get, as soon as you're out of office or in office, or you get a book deal, you get a nice couple million advance, you get some cash in your pocket. And this is a person they want to keep happy, right? Because this is the guy that got all the info, right? He's got all the data, and he's being prosecuted right now, right? They're looking into him. Well, when that comes to an end, they don't want him talking. They're trying to get him off with no time, but he might have to do a little, right? And the question's going to be, when the shit comes down on him, is he going to talk, right? They're worried about him. That's my guess. He's a loose end, a loose cannon, right? And he has a drug problem on top of it, so it's easy to manipulate a person like that who has a drug issue, right? I wanted to cover this Biden telling a lie that he was shot at overseas, claims he was shot at. Let's see this.
An incredible group of diplomats that I've had a chance to work with, and what we never talk about is you not only have great intellectual capacity, you have great personal courage. I've been with some of you when we've been shot at. I've been with some of you when we've been in places that you would not have any idea you'd want to be when you were going to school foreign policy and foreign service. They never told you, oh, that was going to happen. But you're an incredible group of individuals.
You know, I've been long convinced this isn't Biden. I looked at his face closely. I've looked at a bunch of old pictures of him since he came back into the public eye, and I'm convinced that's not him. So you could leave it there. Coming out of Paul Sperry's Twitter page, cover up, Spygate, only 10% of the FBI docs outgoing President Trump ordered declassified have actually been declassified and publicly released. And of that 10%, roughly a third of the content has been heavily redacted in critical sections. The FBI is still censoring what Comey and McCabe did to keep Trump out of the White House and under investigation and surveillance after he won the White House. So Trump has actually declassified these docs, and they're not all coming out yet. That's a problem, right? If I told you to declassify everything and you don't do it, then more than one time I believe that the FBI has not done what the president had directly asked for. And I don't know why he never fired Ray or did something like that. I would have. The second he didn't listen to me, I would have fired him. But how could he when he has a new guy? So here's Biden. Here's both sides of him. Here's the old Biden and here's the new Biden. Let's watch him.
Governor, it's a pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to be with you. First of all,
look at his nose.
Thank you for doing this.
The eyes are wrong.
This, Mr. President. The American people have a right to have a say.
The ears are connected, the earlobes.
If you need any more proof positive of how bad the economic theories have been, this excessive deregulation, the failure to oversee what was going on,
eyes are different,
Wall Street run wild,
nose is different.
Any more evidence than what you
have a very distinctive nose, the Bidens.
Any more evidence than what you see now? I don't think you needed any more evidence than what you see now.
They have a very distinct nose profile, the Biden brothers.
Thank you, Brent.
So he either got a nose job, which is possible, and an eye job, but something was done because the eyes don't match up. The brow's wrong. You can see it if you look real close at him. So that's my take on Biden, and I think the reason that they won't let him do a press conference too much is because if you are a clone or some kind of a automaton, and you're already starting to fuck up and malfunction, then do you think they're going to let you go in front of a crowd where they're going to be barking questions at you? Remember what happened with Hillary, right? They're barking questions at her. What happened? She went into a freaking convulsion because she's got some kind of issue, right? And that's my take on Biden. I don't think they want to let him out in a public press conference with press that they don't know what the questions are going to be, because he's going to get confused real quick. He's going to start malfunctioning. And I don't think they want a public malfunctioning clone or whatever this guy is up there. That's my take on that. So I wanted to cover this real quick. Baby bonds, Biden's socialist paradise. Democrats are pushing Joe Biden to include the so-called baby bonds into the next economic recovery package. One America's John Hines has more on this. I wanted you to watch this because they're in New York, okay, and they're asking people in one of the more liberal cities on the East Coast, right, about this particular plan, and I want you to listen to the majority of the people's response because it's not what you might think it would be.
All right, Democrats are pushing Joe Biden to include the so-called baby bonds into the next economic recovery package. Here's One America's John Hines. Some progressive Democrats are pushing Joe Biden to include so-called baby bonds into the next economic recovery package that could provide children up to $46,000 in a child's bank account by the time they turn 18. One America News asked New Yorkers about these so-called baby bonds, and here is what they said.
I disagree with that idea.
Not a big fan of Cory Booker.
How does Mr. Booker think that we're going to pay for this? That's what I want to know. You know, it's like the same thing as the transportation secretary said. His first thought is a new Pete, Mayor Pete from his first thought, like most Democrats, is to raise taxes. You look at an economy like we had a year ago. It was 21.7 trillion in America, right? So they're talking 2 trillion in stimulus. That's about a month of our output if we can work. We're not working.
All of their bills always cost us money. The money comes in one end and it goes out the other. But usually the Democrats are standing on that other side, so it doesn't benefit.
I think this is a bad idea, man. It's a bad idea. It's too expensive. The country is not in great economic shape now due to COVID and pretty high unemployment rate. This isn't a great idea.
I'm not the one who was a professional politician to decide, but I disagree with that.
They're politicians that they go on the way of their politics of the party. They don't go on the policy of the country. And this is not good for us.
I think it's upon the individual to secure their security for whatever education or their future should be. And I think the more you rely on the government, that money has to come from somewhere. And the more you give people, the less likely they're going to try to do it for themselves. You really let this economy and people work for themselves and do what they should do for themselves and not be as interfering as they are.
What they're trying to do is get future voters, most of it. But some people have noble initiatives, but I think most people have these second agendas right now, and so I'm tired of it. I think most people are.
It's going to cause problems, so it just makes no sense to me. I just hope not. I hope not. I hope not everyone in the world is going to come here.
For the past many years, reports indicate that Democrats have relied on the poorest areas of the country in which to harvest votes, oftentimes by promising free stuff. In effect, this practice may have created more poverty rather than less for years, because policies promising more government support have fostered more reliance on that very same government for food and clothing, while stifling independent initiative. If some progressive Democrats have their way now, the next economic recovery package could make baby bonds government policy, meaning some young Americans will be receiving more free stuff, in this case, free money, even though they have to wait until they turn 18 to get it. John Hines, One America News, Washington.
Want to see more video?
Okay, friends, I got a group of pigeons on my windowsill, so you might hear some pigeon noise. This has been happening several days in a row for about a week. And I looked up what happens if pigeons come to you, and it means that you are either a message is coming to you or you are the messenger. So maybe I'm the messenger. So I'll leave it there. I always keep my eyes in the sky and the birds and animals too, because you get messages sometimes from the spirit world that way, I think. And the American Indian tribes all believe that we each have our own spirit guide, right, in the spirit world. So, and I know my spirit guide is the crow and the hawk, but maybe it's also the pigeon. So, the pigeon is an interesting creature, isn't it, right? They can be trained to fly vast distances, deliver messages. They used to be used, right? How could they understand how to fly these vast distances and find their way back, right? So I think we give them a bad rap sometimes. I'll leave it there. Just the news. Trump will not testify in an unconstitutional proceeding, Jason Miller says. Attorneys for the former president fired back on Thursday following lead impeachment manager Rep. Jamie Raskin's letter calling for Trump to testify before or during the Senate impeachment trial. So they wanted Trump to testify under oath. He's not going to do it. The actual hearing itself may not even be legal, right? We're not sure yet. Can they actually try to impeach a president that's not in office anymore? That hasn't been done before, right? Ken Starr says impeaching Trump post-presidency is a flagrant violation of the Constitution. So have to see how that plays out. And the president said, no, I'm not going to testify. This is a show thing, what you're doing. You're trying to trap me into some kind of a perjury trap, and I'm not going to do it. So you could read that article. Out of Just the News, Amtrak offering cash bonuses to workers who get vaccinated. The passenger railroad company is attempting to ensure the protection of its workers. Yeah, but if I don't want to get your vaccine, then,
Amtrak joined the ranks of companies across the United States offering cash incentives to its employees to get vaccinated against the novel coronavirus. In an effort to ensure the protection of its workers and passengers, Amtrak is offering its workers the equivalent of 2 hours' pay to get the vaccine and paid time off for the time it takes to get the shot.
2 hours, that's it?
Workers will also be accommodated for any absences as a result of any side effects of the vaccine. In a statement, the company says, "We believe the vaccine offers the best way to keep our employees safe and contribute to the wellness of local communities." Ridership on the passenger railroad line plummeted a whopping 97% at the onset of the pandemic and remains down about 75% compared to this time last year. So far, only about 100 of Amtrak's 16,500 employees have received the first dose of the coronavirus vaccine, a figure that is expected to rise quickly as vaccine distribution plans begin to add essential transportation workers to their lists of individuals eligible for the shot. For a deeper understanding of this story and others, join us at justthenews.com.
All right, so they're desperate to get their employees vaccinated, it seems like, and doesn't seem like many of them are getting the vaccination. So if I'm making, I don't know what Amtrak pays. Let's say they pay $20 an hour. So you're giving me $40 to take this thing? Okay, that's not much money, is it? Out of Just the News, Adam Schiff asking California Gov. Newsom to appoint him to open state attorney general post report. The move would likely better position Schiff to run for California Senator Dianne Feinstein's seat should she not seek 2024 election. So California's in deep shit, right? It's looking like the people have risen up and they have enough signatures, I think, to get rid of Newsom. And if they get rid of Newsom, it's going to cause a real problem for him because he's a big pawn in their game. Right? He's connected to Pelosi and all these people. They're all connected. Schiff. These are all the problems out there. Schiff, Pelosi, Newsom. Those are the three people that have really done a lot of damage, in my opinion, to California. They've destroyed it. And that's part of the plan, was to destroy it, because it's the breadbasket. It's one of the big breadbaskets of the country besides the Midwest. A lot of food comes out of California. A lot of food, right? Well, how can we destroy that? How about we divert some of the water so the farmers don't have enough water, right? How about we mess around with your water? How about we maybe start a couple fires? Burn some stuff down maybe, right? How about we burn some farms down so you can't farm there no more? Your house is gone, everything. You're not moving back, right? Everything's gone. So, what's going on? What's really been going on in California these past years? I wonder if that'll ever come out, right? So it looks like AOC's in a little bit of trouble, right? She got caught up possibly in a lie. Her office is almost a half a mile away from where the actual problem was, and it was never. We know now that her area was never breached. So she's making up all these stories and claiming she was in all this danger and then the woman who's right down the hall from her said, "My office is 2 doors down. We never got breached. There was no protesters in here. We were never in immediate danger." So she got caught out there. Market Mania. These are still 16 meme stocks with at least 100% gains. Sarah Ponzak, Yahoo Finance. So these are all the stocks that have been running. Some of them we know, some of them we don't. Naked, Koss, Zomedica, The Nine. GameStop, of course, AMC, Express, Castor Maritime. I'm watching Castor. I'm watching a bunch of them. I'm watching Sundial. I'm watching Novavax. So these are some of the ones that have been running. They're still up 100% or close to it or more. Zomedica's up, look at this, over 400%. So the question's going to be, are they going to be able to really wipe out a lot of people? You'll be able to wipe out some people that are shorting certain stocks. Silver and gold's going to be the tougher gig as far as I can tell. That's my opinion. Because it's a much larger market, right? And you're not just dealing with one stock, you're dealing with a global market, right? Where all kinds of different people are buying in, and there's all kinds of different players in that market. It's a huge deal. And I hope that one day we can get some of these speculators out. The real thing is why, you shouldn't allow these people to do these paper contracts. You got to make that illegal. I mean, if I can short your stock or your asset from the other end of it, right, and you're buying in, you don't even know I exist, you're buying into something that's being kept down artificially, right? That's not fair to the regular investor who might just want to be purchasing gold and silver for their own reasons, to protect their wealth. How can I protect my wealth if you're knocking it down right on the other end? GOP state senators sponsor resolution to declare Maricopa County Board of Supervisors in contempt. 4 out of the 5 members on the county's Board of Supervisors are Republicans. The entire contingent of 16 Republicans in the Arizona State Senate has sponsored a resolution to hold the 5 members of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors in contempt for not complying with subpoenas pertaining to equipment, ballots, and more related to the 2020 election. The resolution may raise the possibility of arrests. It calls for the State Senate President to take all legal action pursuant to Section 41-1153, Arizona Revised Statutes, to enforce the subpoena. That section of Arizona law states, quote, "A witness neglecting or refusing to attend in obedience to a subpoena may be arrested by the Sergeant-at-Arms and brought before the Senate or House upon authority of a copy of the resolution signed by the President or Speaker and countersigned by the Secretary or Chief Clerk," unquote. Since the Chamber's 14 Democrats will probably not support the resolution, all 16 Republicans will need to vote for it in order for it to pass when the Chamber eventually votes on it. It is our understanding that state law prohibits the release of the ballots once they have been sealed, Board of Supervisors Chair Jack Sellers said in a statement. There is nothing prohibiting the Senate and their lawyers from going into a courtroom and explaining to a judge why the board should disregard state law and allow access to people's ballots and personal information. 4 out of the 5 members of the county's Board of Supervisors are Republicans. So this is a really interesting story. I mean, I can't understand why if these people are holding on to this. There's some force in Arizona that's holding this up the whole way, and it does not want this stuff looked into. So I don't know, is it ever going to get figured out? We'll have to see how it plays out. We're still waiting. Are they going to actually arrest some of these people? Are they going to put some of them in contempt? And we'll see, right? It appears that they have the law behind them to do so.
Good evening. I know this has been a very worrisome week for many Americans.
We got Bloomberg.
The coronavirus is spreading.
All right, well,
the economy is
Chief
taking
Tedros anoints Mike Bloomberg as global ambassador.
Because
Let me get rid of Bloomberg. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I couldn't believe when I saw that story. Bloomberg is some kind of global ambassador now. So go figure that. Coming out of the Federalist, Chuck Schumer used violent rhetoric to sic a mob on 2 Supreme Court justices. 1 year ago, Schumer incited a mob on the steps of the Supreme Court in order to bully justices to rule in Democrats' favor. When Senator Rand Paul by Molly Hemingway, she's one of my favorite writers. She's a really well-schooled and I think an articulate writer and press person, journalist. One of the few real ones out there still. It's just my opinion. When Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky, spoke against the constitutionality of the Democrats' impeachment trial of former President Trump, he reminded his colleagues that Democrat elected officials had recently told their followers to attack Republicans. If Trump was to be impeached for asking followers to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard by members of Congress on January 6th, what to do with Democrats' more incendiary rhetoric and actions, he wondered. Senator Kamala Harris solicited funds to bail out the rioters who destroyed Minneapolis during 2020's Summer of Rage. Rep. Maxine Waters called on Democrats to seek out Republicans in public places and create a crowd and push back on them to let them know they're not welcome anymore anywhere. The Bernie Sanders supporter who nearly killed House Republican Whip Steve Scalise at a baseball field in Virginia said he was motivated to kill for health care, quote unquote, after Sanders and other Democrats had said the Republican health care plan was to kill many Americans. Senator Cory Booker told his supporters at one gathering in D.C. to please don't just come here today and then go home. Go to the Hill today. Get up and please get up in the face of some congresspeople. One example Paul left out of his excellent speech is even more relevant to next week's impeachment. Less than 1 year ago, Senator Chuck Schumer of New York led a mob on the steps of the Supreme Court while a case was being heard and tried to thwart the natural deliberation of justices by violently threatening two of them to rule in favor of his and other Democrats' preferred outcome. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind. You will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions, Schumer threatened the two most recently confirmed justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. The threat was so alarming that even leftist activists such as Lawrence Tribe condemned it. Schumer received a rare same-day rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts, who said, quote, justices know that criticism comes with the territory, but threatening statements of this sort from the highest levels of government are not only inappropriate, they're dangerous. Then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell condemned Schumer's remarks as astonishingly reckless and completely irresponsible. However, Senator Josh Hawley's efforts to censor Schumer for his violent threats were scuttled. The Washington Post's write-up of Schumer's threats focused instead on Republican opposition to them. GOP seizes on Schumer's remarks. Yeah, so this is a theme that's gone on for a long time, right? They can go out and they can ask their people to get up in the face of others, right? You saw what Rand Paul had to go through, walking through the streets with just 2 or 3 cops to protect him, with a mob of people around him trying to get near him, right? That's what these people stirred up. That's what these people did. And you also stood back while other cities and people got hurt and burned, and you didn't even want to admit that there was Antifa, that the rioting wasn't, that it was a myth, right? While people were being killed in some instances and hurt, and their businesses burned down. Imagine you own a business, right? And all you're trying to do is protect what you have, right? And survive this thing. And then a bunch of kids show up, they smash into your place, they rip it apart. You know how many businesses I walk by in New York that are boarded up with a sign saying, please don't loot me again. I already have been looted. Think about that for a minute. I've already been looted. I'm begging you. Please don't damage my store anymore. Please. There's nothing inside. They took it all already. You got kids walking into Chanel, walking right out with the stuff, right? And when the guard doesn't even try to stop them anymore. If they try to stop them, they say, why are you accusing me of stealing, right? So, you know, you got a city in New York that's just allowing this. That's my guess, my take. They're letting it go down. And in other democratic cities, they let this go down and people got hurt. Now, if someone in my family gets hurt or killed because you didn't do your job as the mayor or the governor, I'm going to sue you, right? That's what's happening right now. You getting all these people getting sued by all different kinds of groups for all different kinds of stuff. I thought this was super interesting. Border Patrol agents coming out of Just the News. Border Patrol agents arrest group of 11 Iranians who had illegally entered the U.S. The 11 individuals nabbed by Yuma Sector Border Patrol agents included 5 women and 6 men. Border Patrol agents on Monday apprehended a group of 11 Iranians who unlawfully entered the U.S. The 11 Iranian nationals nabbed by Yuma Sector Border Patrol agents included 5 women and 6 men, according to a U.S. Customs and Border Protection press release. Yuma Sector agents have apprehended 14 Iranians during fiscal 2021, which began about 4 months ago. For the last 2 fiscal years, Yuma Sector Border Patrol agents have led the nation in apprehending illegal crossers from Iran. The press release noted, Yuma Sector agents apprehended 8 Iranian nationals in 2020, compared to 14 from all other Border Patrol sectors combined. So what's going on here? Why are all these Iranians, how are all these Iranians, first of all, getting to Mexico? And then how are they working their way towards our border, and why, right? That's highly, highly suspicious and not normal to me. Okay, something happened. One of my pages timed out. Let's see if I can get it back. Here we go. The American Public Has a Right to Information by Laura Hollis. I found this on the aggregator for Dan Bongino's aggregator. So, the American public deserves the truth from its politicians and from any and all media. This should be a non-controversial statement. But it is controversial, apparently. Not only are we not being told the truth, we're being prevented from hearing the truth told to us by anyone who has it or is actively seeking it. We are increasingly unable to even access information we could use to form our own independent assessments of what is true and what is not. This is appalling, and we must demand that it stop. Our national press has a long history of keeping the truth from us and even telling outright lies when doing so fits its preferred narrative or helps its preferred political candidate. The press's manipulation of the flow of information has been exposed time and time again. For decades, America had the politicians' press 1-2 punch. Politicians lie, and the left-wing media cover up for them, at least if they're Democrats. Until talk radio and the advent of the internet, the public had few sources outside of newspapers and major TV networks, which gave journalists, quote-unquote, and their pet politicians a de facto monopoly on the flow of information. But those newer media, to which social media was added even more recently, meant that anyone investigating stories traditional media chose to spin or ignore altogether had new platforms for reaching people who are unsatisfied with lies, half-truths, and information blackouts. Now that too has been throttled. In place of the old 1-2 punch, we now have the unholy trinity. Politicians lie, traditional media cover for them, and the big tech social media companies, Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, demonetize, deplatform, and otherwise censor any information they don't want the American public to have. We're told these steps are necessary to protect the public from being hornswoggled by unreliable sources peddling fake news, like concerns about election fraud. Bunk. First of all, noted above, the traditional media has a lousy track record when it comes to deciding what's true and what isn't, and oddly, those decisions seem to consistently coincide with the personal and professional interests of left-wing politicians. Second, what's unreliable is a matter of some debate. Yeah, I mean, you can read the rest of the article, guys, but the real issue here is it's simple, isn't it? You're not telling us the truth, and you're not allowing others who want to tell a different narrative than what you're peddling, or the truth, I think. You're not allowing those people to have their freedom, right? You're censoring those people. Now, what's happening, as you see, is that people are leaving these places like YouTube and Twitter, and they're just going to other places, and they're taking, some of them are taking large audiences with them, right? I have more people on my YouTube than on my YouTube. So, obviously that means to me that enough people said fuck YouTube, or excuse my French, right? And they're sick of it, right? Why would I want to keep giving my attention and watching YouTube when I could go on YouTube and get that same information in a better format, right, where it's not censored, and I know it's not censored. If you go back, they're still removing videos of mine. For example, the Rudy Giuliani radio interview that I put up, that so many people had said, wow, that's being censored on their website. Yeah, well, they censored it, on YouTube too. I had it up for a while, but on my YouTube, it's still up. YouTube has not taken one video of mine down, not one. So I give them a lot of props. Rumble too has not taken any of my videos down either, so I give Rumble some props. And I'm just going to stick on those. I can't do much with the Cloud Hub website, unfortunately. It is just destroyed. I don't know what is going on with that, but it don't work. The links you put in don't come up. Watch Biden press secretary says even after you're vaccinated, social distancing and wearing a mask will be essential. You could check this article out. And this leads back to what I think this was really all about. It was about the election one. But there's a bigger thing about this mask, The mask is to subjugate you, is the way I look at it. It's to stifle your voice, right? It's to make it so you don't see a smiling face anymore in a person. You can't see all you see is a pair of eyes, right? And there's a problem with that, right? You're not being allowed to communicate with people non-verbally anymore. You can't smile at someone. You can't show your emotion with your face, right? Your face shows so many emotions, right? Anger, fear, happiness, love, sadness. All these things are different ways your face can look, right? And different emotion you can non-verbally communicate. And now that's gone, right? Your voice is muffled now. You can't speak. So these people want you wearing the mask, I think, indefinitely. I don't see a way out of it for it, right? If I get the vaccine, I shouldn't have to wear the mask, right? But you're telling me I still got to go wear the mask to get my food. So when does the mask end? That's the thing, right? That's my take on it. Coming out of Breitbart, former Vice President Mike Pence joins Heritage Foundation. So I'm keeping an eye on Pence, what he does after and what his moves are. And you notice Trump's real quiet. Real quiet. He made one little statement about, we're not gonna testify, but and he got mad at the SAG. Who cares about SAG, right? He got his SAG card taken away, like he really cares. And then he gave SAG a piece of his mind on the way out. So it's not, what does he care, right? Coming out of Daily Caller, baseless propaganda. Critics slam ACLU for claiming biological men have no advantage over women in sports. I was an athlete in my youth. I played competitive tennis, not on the pro level, but below that. But nevertheless, I was an athlete in multiple sports. Basketball, I ran a little track, not in high school or college, but I was a runner. I played competitive tennis and just competitive sports like a lot of people growing up. And I'll tell you, there's a definite difference. And if you remember in tennis especially, I forgot the lady's name now. Her name was Renee something, who was a man who had the surgery. And she was crushing people, crushing women on the women's tour. I mean, just destroying them. So that's why they said, hey, Renee, I think her name was Renee Richards. You can't play in the women's tennis circuit anymore. You're crushing too many people here. You're hitting the ball too freaking hard. It's obvious, and so that's why that can't be allowed, because even though you're taking, you might be taking some kind of hormones and things of that nature, the physical strength doesn't change. In other words, that can't take your fast twitch muscle rate and make it go down or less, right? You're not going to lose your physical power. Your muscular structure might look different and change, but you still have the same physical strength, in my view. So and the same with speed, right? If you're seeing those track athletes, that guy's smoking all those women because he's a guy. And his fast twitch muscles are way, way faster twitching than a female's would be. And his muscle mass and his legs are much bigger and stronger usually too. So how is a woman going to be able to run as fast as that guy? Not many. I don't think many would be able to. Some maybe, if you're on a high level. So I wanted to cover the farmers' strike in India, because I think it's a big story that isn't getting much play here. And I noticed a couple of the commenters when I was talking about we're talking about Modi yesterday and how Modi really is not doing the right thing by people. And I'm not a Modi supporter. I will dig into Modi more when I, see stuff about him. And this story is very interesting because Indian farmers began hunger strike amid fury against Modi. So this protest has been going on now for, I believe, 2 months. Farmers listened to their leaders during a day-long hunger strike as they continue to protest against 3 farm laws at the Delhi-Uttar Pradesh border. New Delhi, Indian farmers taking part in more than 2 months of protest against new agricultural laws began a day-long hunger strike Saturday, as they sought to reaffirm the peaceful nature of their movement following recent clashes with police. Farmer leaders said the hunger strike was timed to coincide with the death anniversary of Indian independence leader Mahatma Gandhi, who was famed for his nonviolent resistance to colonial rule. Nevertheless, the protesters said they remain furious at Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government. The way the government is spreading planned lies and violence is condemnable, said a statement from the Samyukta Kisan Morcha, or United Farmers Front, a coalition of farmers' unions. Tens of thousands of farmers have been camped on the edge of New Delhi since November, seeking the repeal of laws passed in September that they say will favor large agribusiness and corporations, devastate the earnings of many farmers, and leave those with small plots behind. Modi and his allies say the laws are necessary to modernize Indian agriculture. Multiple rounds of talks between the two sides have been unsuccessful. Protests had largely been peaceful, but violence erupted on Tuesday, India's Republic Day, when tens of thousands of farmers riding tractors and marching on foot knocked out police barricades and stormed New Delhi's 17th century Red Fort in a brief but shocking takeover. The clashes left one protester dead and nearly 400 police officers injured. Officials did not say how many farmers were injured, but many were seen bloodied after police and riot gear hit them with batons and fired tear gas. Tensions have remained high since sporadic clashes between protesters, police, and unidentified groups shouting anti-farmer slogans. On Friday, a group of around 200 people barged into one protest site despite heavy security, threw stones at farmers, and damaged their tents. The group demanded that farmers vacate the area and said they had insulted the national flag during their tractor parade. The farmers alleged that the vandals were largely made up of members of a Hindu nationalist group that has close ties with Modi's party. So is Modi bringing in the heavy-handed people, right, to try to break this up? That's a tactic used for a very long time by different governments. It was used here to break up the unions that were rallying in the 30s, 40s periods, especially to break up the union rallies, and people were killed at those as well. 30, 40 guys show up with baseball bats and sticks and clubs and start beating everybody up. And what are the cops really going to do about it? Probably nothing, because they're probably bought off, and allowing it to go down. You saw the same thing happen with the Antifa, right, where groups of Trump supporters were funneled towards Antifa people on purpose, right, so that they could then be attacked. This is a tactic that is a long time been used, and it's starting to appear that the people of India are fed up with Modi, right, because he's trying to change the way the agricultural system works. And if I'm a small farmer and I'm already just getting by, that might be enough to make it so I can't make a living anymore, and that's the problem, right? So we're going to have to see how the whole situation plays out with the farmers in India. These kinds of tactics have been used in different countries. In India, it's a big deal, right, because they have a huge farming industry there. Massive amounts of land are farmed. There's there's people from just a guy trying to make it on maybe a half-acre patch of land to guys with hundreds and maybe thousands of acres, right, with huge farms. So this affects everybody, and it's going to be one of those fights that they're going to have to fight it out, because, if I can't make a living growing food, then what? Some of these people are generational farmers, right? This is all we know. We farmed this land for all our lives, and our fathers did the same before us. Now, what do you expect me to go and do, right? I have to now change my whole lifestyle because the government is coming in and telling me how I have to do my farming now, right? So we'll see how that all plays out, friends. I don't want to go too long. A lot of stories in play. It doesn't look like Trump's going to go testify, and we're waiting on that trial. I think it's going to start on the 9th or the 8th. I can't remember, but whichever day it is, I'm going to be there. So anyway, friends, I hope you're well. I hope everything's going well with you. You're safe. Your health is well. You're keeping up your routine. You're eating right. You're stretching, keeping in your center. All right, friends? So with that, I wish you peace and love. This is Ash, WAT News, signing off for now.